Hey everyone, I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to another video. I hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are. But what I wanted to talk about today was we just really gotta let it happen. Like, I'm being so serious. Like, a lot of things are beyond our control. Like, there is so many things that we cannot control. There are so many things that we always try to control. Like, I'm not even laughing. Like, I'm actually being so for real. Because me personally, this is like something really bad, like, about me, or like this behavior that I like really don't like about myself, is that I always try to control things that I absolutely cannot control. And what I mean is not necessarily people, because I'm not controlling anyone. Do your thing. Do your thing. Because I'm not even controlling myself at this point. I'm really not controlling myself. But what I mean is, we just can't control everything, and we really just gotta accept that. And I'm being so for real right now because I've been struggling with this all my life. And what I mean is, like, I'm always going to say what I mean. Just bear with me. But it's literally with everything. Because there are so many things in my life that I actually ruined because I couldn't accept that things are just going to be the way they are. I literally talked about that last episode, so I'm not always going to continue about the same topic 24/7. I promise, I really promise. But what I mean is, we just really gotta let things happen because you cannot control everything. You really just can't control everything. With letting it happen, I mean letting it happen. But what I mean with that is, because I'm actually thinking about Tame Impala, Let It Happen, one of my all-time favorite songs. That's why I literally want to make this video today, is because I literally just wanted to talk about that song itself. I mean, I'm not going to do a deep analysis about that, which I eventually will do somewhere in the future. I will just do random analysis of music and actually just like add how I feel, or just like what I thought I spit for a second, but anyways, I just like going to add my own meaning or definition to things. I just love doing that. I just do that with everything. Like I said, I literally try to control everything. Like, I just can't, like, things just need, like, we just gotta let things happen, because there's also beauty in just letting things happen. Like, because when you stop controlling things or wanting them to go a certain way, or you want things to go your way, you will let them happen in a way that whatever comes out of it will be so beautiful. And eventually you will miss out on a lot of things that could have been beautiful by just having them happen spontaneously and not having to necessarily plan them out, or wanting them to go a certain way, wanting it to go or appeal to something, while just letting it happen could be so beautiful. Like, imagine you're meeting someone, and instead of always walking on eggshells around them, or always having the feeling that, okay, eventually they might leave, or eventually we might marry, you know? But just letting it happen and kind of having those things come along the way, instead of wanting to fight for a certainty of it, is so beautiful. Like, I say that it's beautiful because it just appears to be beautiful. Like, I don't really have any things happen to me in life where it was just like, oh wow, this like appeared, I let this happen, and wow, like, I really just let it happen. It really was beautiful. Like, I never had that, but I'm pretty sure it must be beautiful. Like, imagine you're walking around, do you guys like know those meet cutes like that happen in movies, where like just like you bump into someone, like you drop your like whatever, your books or whatever, and like you look at each other, like, and like suddenly you guys are like bound to be, or like you were about to be married. Like, imagine just letting that happen instead of holding on to something and just wanting it to stay. This, like, oh my god, like, when I think of it, when I think of it, like, if I ever had the possibility of just letting things be the way they are and just letting them happen. For example, somebody's going to leave, they're gonna leave. Let them leave. You're gonna fail that class? So what? You will pass it eventually. Just let it happen. You fall in love with someone and you're like, oh my god, no, I don't want to fall with this person and love again. Just let it happen. Eventually it will fade away. Eventually you might get something out of it. Just let it happen. You can't force something to go a certain way. You know, you cannot force yourself to be in love with someone, or you cannot force yourself to like, eventually, I was about to say, you cannot force yourself to fully not be in love with someone, because at the end of the day, if you know that your love for someone is like wrong, and love is never wrong, I'm going to say that, but if you have a feeling that we're not, like, I'm not supposed to, like, care for them, or, like, I'm not supposed to, love them, or whatever, like, wait, let me just gotta make sure that everything's charging, but just thinking of it, like, you cannot really force yourself to stop loving someone, you know? You cannot force yourself, even though you really want it. For example, you're thinking of an ex, and you're like, you start having feelings for them again, just thinking of that, or, like, just kind of, you know that you need to, like, you need to distance yourself, or like you cannot have feelings for them. You cannot force yourself, because at the end of the day, if you're just forcing something to go like away, it will eventually come back. Instead of just letting it go on its own, and just kind of letting it settle down, you know, kind of giving it its own space, and just letting it grow, or kind of disappear on its own, you know, but actually forcing it and trying to control a way for it to go away, or forcing something, like, how do I explain this? You cannot really force anything to happen ever, you know? You cannot really force anything, because at the end of the day, we are never sure of anything. We really aren't sure of anything, you know? That's life. That's just the thing of it, you know? People try to deal with that, the absence of the certainty of things, you know? People start to believe in things, you know, spirituality, religion, those are things like that, you know? But at the same time, just letting things happen instead of having to add a specific meaning to it could be so beautiful, you know? Getting to meet someone, instead of having the expectation, oh, we are supposed to be married, we are supposed to be dating, we are supposed to be a couple, and instead of that, just letting it happen could be so beautiful. Because imagine, you know, what if you guys eventually get married? What if you guys eventually be really good friends, you know? But instead of always being kind of beating yourself down on it, or I don't even know what word I was trying to verbalize, or like try to rephrase, but just trying to always force that thing in your hand, and always try to focus on, how can I make this thing that I currently have an expectation of actually achieve that expectation, will be so tiring, instead of just letting it go in a way that is so beautiful. Like, you meet someone, you start talking, and suddenly something goes wrong and you guys don't talk anymore. You just let it happen, you know? You will not always, like, not everyone that you will meet will be the person that you think they may be, you know? Like, you will never be sure who someone actually is. You will never be sure how a certain situation will turn out, because that's just how life is. Like, if I had a possibility of being able to control everything right now, okay, maybe life would be like, you know, like all of my expectations will be fulfilled, or whatever, you know, I would feel fulfilled. But at the same time, not really having any competition, not really having anything to thrive to, or not really having anything to fight for, is not really going to give me anything in life, you know? Because the idea of wanting something to happen is amazing, but the idea of it happening on its own, or the idea of it kind of coming to you instead of having to force it to come to you, is so beautiful. It's something so amazing. Like, it's like the thing when you, like, you know, when you go to sleep, you expect to wake up and the sun's out, you know? You expect that. But I don't even know what analogy I'm trying to make. Wait. Like, wait. Let me think. You expect that, you know? But waking up, for example, before sunset, before the sun is, like, fully up, it's like, wow, you know, I can literally go out. I can take my bike. I can take my feet, because I have 2 pair of them. I have 1 pair of them. I have 2 of them. Wait, no. I have 2 foot. But I have feet. Oh, this is so... I don't even know what I'm saying. It works. Anyways, that was so weird. I don't even know why I said it. But anyways, isn't it such a beautiful thing? Because like, oh my god, I just woke up before the sunrise. I can go to, I can go to the fields and I can look at it rise. Isn't it a beautiful thing? It happened spontaneously. I didn't have to put an alarm. Or also that feeling of like, instead of having to put an alarm for you to wake up, for example, at 6 o'clock, that feeling of just waking up on yourself, like your body kind of waking you up. Isn't that such a beautiful thing? Like, I don't know, that just like, it's such a funny thing to me. It's like, instead of having, like, that's the thing to me. Like, that feeling of just like waking up on your own, your body's like, hey girl, wake up, son, like honey bun, it will be okay. You'll have a great day. Everything will be okay. But having this annoying device next to you, like, burp, 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 like, I don't want that. Like, would that be fun? No, I would much rather prefer my body to wake up on its own. Like, I would much rather have that than just to listen to my phone ring, 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 wake. I don't want to wake up, But just my body itself waking up, isn't that like amazing? Because it just happened on its own. I let it happen, I woke up. That's the thing also, like, the weekends, for example. For one thing about me is that, like, I have such a difficulty waking up. I mean, I don't really, but anyways, just to kind of set the situation, like clear things out. Generally, I don't really have that difficult, but I do have to put a bit more effort to wake up early throughout the weeks, or like throughout the week itself, like the work week, academic week, whatever you want to call it. But waking up in the weekends, for some reason, I am always awake at the hour that I am supposed to wake up throughout the week. And isn't that like such a funny thing? Because then I don't really, like, I'm not really putting pressure on myself to wake up, My body is like, well, honey bun, you can wake up. Rise and shine. She woke up. But throughout the week, I'm forcing it to wake up. I'm not letting it happen. I'm forcing my body to wake up. The same thing goes. If I'm on my bed, I don't know why I'm using my bed as a metaphor, an analogy, whatever, the whole time. But if I'm on my bed and I'm scrolling the whole time, watching videos, I don't know, watching everything, just watching Cocktail Twinks, y'all, love them. I don't know, watching Emergency Intercom, watching everything, just whatever, watching Terry Joe, just doing that, and I'm just on my bed, and like the only thing that I'm thinking about is like, oh damn, like I really have to wake up early tomorrow. Like, no, I need to wake up. But me thinking about that the whole time is like kind of keeping me up all, like, wait, what is it? It's like making me stay up even longer, like me trying to think, like me, like what am I even saying? Me just like thinking of that, or like thinking of, why am I not falling asleep? Like, I need to fall asleep, I need to wake up early, is only putting more pressure on myself and not putting myself at ease. I'm not calm, so I will probably stay up longer because I'm stressed. My body is like, you need to calm down, like, you need to, like, my body is like, like, I don't want to sleep, but like I'm scrolling, like I have to sleep, but I don't really want to sleep because like I'm already doing something else, like I don't know what to do. And then like your body is like, doesn't really know how to respond to that, so it will just keep you up all night while knowing that it's that it's kind of not aligning with what you're supposed to do. You are supposed to go to sleep, and that's that. But forcing yourself to go to sleep will not, like, it will not feel good, nor will you actually go to sleep or like wake up actually like feeling, I don't even know what analogy. Actually, I'm just going to keep that. I'm just going to let that sink in for a while. You good? That's that. We're just going to let that sit in. Anyways, so to carry on, just let things happen. It's such a beautiful thing. Instead of force, like, isn't it like a beautiful thing? Like, just to kind of let things happen. I'm just trying to think of specific certain situations where, I mean, just letting it happen instead of like, for example, for me as well, like when I have a playlist on Spotify, I would also like unintentionally, I would always search for a song, even though I have literally the playlist on shuffle, like whatever, I would always have a certain song in mind that I really want it to play, because it's like my current favorite song, whatever. For example, Suffocation by Crystal Castles, actually Girl So Confusing by Lord, and Charlie, of course. For example, those are like songs, and Strangers by Ethel Cain. Like, I'm just thinking, like, unintentionally when I think, like, wait. Let me calm down because I'm kind of rushing myself here. If I always have in mind, like, okay, I need to cue that song. Okay, that song is going to come on, you know? Eventually it will because I cued it, of course. But at the same time, if I just let the playlist play out, you know, and that song that I so like love so much, it just comes, and it's going to feel way better, you know, listening to it after listening to a few songs that, like, okay, they're like mediocre, you know, like I like them, but like not that much. Just having that one song that I always loved, and I kind of just loved so much, and I wasn't expecting it, is so fun. Like, for example, I'm just listening to music and suddenly Suffocation, or like I hear the dun, and I'm like, wow, like music is amazing, you know, because I didn't expect it, even though I knew that for eventually after 2 hours, for example, of listening to music and having my music shuffle for hours and hours, I still wanted a song to play. And even though it didn't play at the point or the time that I wanted it to play, it still played, and it felt even more beautiful than just me listening to that same song over and over and over again. Of course, I love the song, you know, so listening to the song will give me the gratification and whatever that I needed, you know, or the feeling that I was seeking, like, for, like, just the feeling that I wanted to feel when putting on that song. But just having it come on while doing things, like, for example, I'm vacuuming, or like cleaning my room, studying, whatever, and just that song suddenly and the beat drops, it's like, wow. Like, you know, it feels good. And I just, it reminds me how beautiful the song is. It's like as if I'm listening to that song again. And that's what I mean with letting it happen. Instead of always having the expectation that something is going to happen, instead of always waiting for something to happen, just letting it happen on its own without having any expectation to it would make it so much more beautiful and so much more stressful. Like, I cannot say it enough how much more easy life goes. Like, I'm saying this because I'm giving the advice that I actually need to listen to myself. But it's actually crazy how much easier life is if you stop. And I know this is corny. This is corny to say. If you stop worrying about the things that might come. Just letting things happen. Just letting things happen. Just letting it happen. Take the next ticket, take the next train. Why would I do it? Oh my god. I just can't. This is like, let it happen this is like, the whole video is literally just that song. Like, this is literally what I always think of. Just like, it's such a beautiful thing not knowing the things that might come, but at the same time it's a scary thing. But at the same time also, I'm literally using that same term 3 times at the same time. If we don't expect things to happen and something happens that you always kind of wanted it to happen, it's so fun. It's so it's like wow. But when it happens after you were kind of forcing yourself or kind of trying the whole time for it to come to you, the whole, like, doing everything for it to happen, for you to achieve that thing. Okay, it might feel, because if you worked a lot, because the thing is, it depends on the situation. Because, for example, if you study hard and you will get that degree, it will, you know, you will feel relieved. So I can't really give you that. But also at the same time, if you focus too much on just achieving the grades, you will not really enjoy the major, because it will kind of make you forget why you did the major in the first place. You know, if you also focus on the material and focus on what you're learning and focus on all of the things that people did hours, years of research on, and kind of enjoying that and kind of letting that come in your mind, and just like kind of, I don't know, it's like a gift, you know. Studying to me is like a gift. Like, I'm not studying for me to get the best grades. Of course, it's something that I want, you know. Of course, I want to get good grades, you know, and want to have less worries. But at the same time, if I also enjoy the major and remind myself why I'm doing the major, for example, looking at the humanity, like the humanity of it all, you know, reminding myself that there is actual human beings that wrote law books, you know, that wrote these books, that actually had this whole entire imagination. But at the same time, I bet you 100% that they were also, you know, they had to get that done. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that those same people were also enjoying the thing that they were writing something on, you know? Because a writer does not start a book, you know, putting an expectation that this book will have 500 pages. They will just let their pen flow, and eventually it will stop, you know? Because why would you start writing a book if you already know that there is the end? Like, okay, you might know that there is an end to everything. We know that, you know, everything has an end. I literally said this so many more times. But why would you start something if you always keep on your mind, it's going to end eventually? Like, why would you continue on doing that, you know? If I start writing a book, I'm not going to always keep in my mind, okay, I will have to reach this amount of pages out. Oh my god, I don't know what that was. I'm like, spitting everywhere while talking. My bad. But they might put that deadline to themselves, you know? They might say, okay, I need to reach this amount of pages. I need to talk about so many characters. I need to mention specific teams. I need to mention specific political things, you know, or like just philosophical meaning to things, or talk about the difficulties in life. For example, sexism, talking about racism, you know, they mention those things. But at the same time, it's not like they have a checkout list or a to-do list the whole time. When doing this, I need to at least do this, integrate this, integrate this, integrate this, integrate this, mention this and this and this and this. No, instead of having always that kind of thing in the back of your mind, you can also just letting things happen, you know? Because it's so much more beautiful when you actually mention that thing instead of eventually mention. It's way more beautiful to mention something on your own, you know, and kind of spontaneously while doing it. You know, you're writing, and kind of, you know, of course your mind is there, you know, you're focusing, of course. You know what you're writing about, you know what you're doing. But at the same time, it's also really beautiful when you mention something just because at that point, when you were writing it, when you were talking about it, it just came to mind, you know? It's so much more fun. That's the whole thing about also like, what is it called? Brainstorming. It's so much more refreshing. It's like kind of a breath of fresh air because it came along the way, you know? You might have also kind of had in the back of your mind that, okay, I need to have mentioned this, or I need to have talked about this at least, you know, like reminding yourself that you need to talk about that. But also, don't underestimate your power, because you will eventually, even though it's not in your control, or even though you're not focusing on mentioning that character that many times, or mentioning this societal problem that many times in the book, you knew for a fact that in the back of your mind, you were going to mention it, but you're not holding on to it like, Mustapha, don't forget to mention that. You're not doing that because you knew from the beginning that you will have to mention certain things, you know? And just letting your mind along the way and kind of giving yourself the time to mention things, it will be way more fun because you're kind of like surprising yourself, like, this actually could fit here, you know? That's what I meant from the beginning. Like, actually, I'm kind of like going all over the place, but that's just what I mean with like kind of letting things happen. Because when you think of it, like I said, I used to, I don't know, like the analogies that I made, the metaphors that I made were kind of specific, like weird in a sense, but that just kind of sums it up. Like, just thinking of it, you know, you have a book and you know for a fact that you need to mention all of these, like you're writing a book, you know, and you have, because most of the time I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, maybe people start the title before writing a book, but using a title, like kind of coming up with a title for a book also will kind of limit you, you know? If you start writing the book on its own without kind of having a title, you will have many roads that you can take, you know, because you aren't really limiting yourself to certain things. But when you already give yourself a certain title, you know, when you give a book a certain title, it will kind of limit you to certain things that you can talk about. I'm not saying that you cannot go beyond those borders, or you cannot go beyond the box that you have kind of unintentionally but intentionally created by already giving yourself a title that you want to write something on, you start kind of limiting yourself, you know. But when you're not really, when you didn't start off while having that title, you will allow yourself more and more to kind of drift off from the idea that because of course you were thinking of writing about a certain thing. For example, you were writing about loneliness. You're not going to talk about having so many friends at the same time, of course. But instead like, you know, when keeping that in your mind that you feel, you know, like you're talking about the loneliness thing the whole time, whatever, you will also be able to talk. Wait, let me think. Just, that's what I basically mean. If you know that you're going to write a book about loneliness, or you are going to write an essay about loneliness, you know, you limit yourself to certain things, to certain points, to certain bullet points, whatever, to point out, you know, things that you need to mention. But when you're not, like, when you know for a fact that you will write something on loneliness, but you're not really restricting yourself already to having that title, you will allow yourself to drift away from anything, you know, even though you know for a fact that you will have to stay between those the box that you have created. You will always kind of find ways to kind of go around that box, but still eventually come back into it. You know, that's the thing. When letting things happen, when just kind of accepting, you know for a fact that things are not going to dramatically change. You know, of course, things can dramatically change, you know. Things can suddenly all go wrong and you fully change as a person, you know. But at the same time, things are always kind of going to stay the same, you know. Things, like, that's the thing. Life is not, like, of course, things, like, random things happen, you know. But at the same time, those things will always kind of have a build-up, you know. And instead of always focusing on trying to achieve that thing, always expecting that this will happen, just letting it happen, letting things happen, you will appreciate more things that might have already given you happiness, or might have already contributed to how you're feeling, or might have already contributed to your, in this sentence, like in this specific context I'm talking about, the happiness of it all. You know, you're like, okay, you know, I'm feeling good, so like whatever comes along the way, it will contribute to my however I'm feeling. But if you're always focusing on this will have to happen, or I need to feel this way, or eventually this might happen, letting it happen and just kind of approaching things with not really approach, like, of course you're always going to think, you know, our brain, like, I think therefore I am, of course, you know, of course, because if you don't, I wouldn't have, you know, said it out loud. But just like just let things happen. Really, just do it. Listen to Kevin Parker. Listen to Tame Impala. Just let things happen. For real. Just let things happen. If you're always focusing on, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, okay, you will do that, you know, you will probably do that. But if you always focus on the goal instead of letting things happen until you achieve that goal, it will be way more difficult than just letting things happen and achieve and appreciating the way things are going. That's what I wanted to talk about. I hope everyone will have a great day down. And I wish you all the best. And whether you're watching this video now, or in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, everywhere, everything, all at once, Mustafa out.